I've spent the last couple of weeks building this high-performance model rocket using PVC pipes, 3D printed parts, and a large solid fuel motor.
3, 2, 1, ignition!
Here's how I made it.
What the hell is that?
Right, what am I doing? Well, first of all, I'm going to be designing a rocket on the computer and then manufacturing most of the parts that I'm going to use from scratch. I've built loads of rockets before, but this one's going to be different in that it's going to have a focus on going really fast, but also being extremely simple and straightforward so that you can see just how easy it might be for you to build a high-speed rocket of your own with things that you've got lying around the house. If you're a subscriber of my channel, then you might know that my last rocket, that one over there, focused on staging, electronic systems, and using a mid-power engine for the first time. This time I'm focusing on simplicity. So this PVC pipe is going to be the fuselage of the model rocket. It's going to be robust, strong, and basically the Soviet approach to making a model rocket. So let's get on with a bit of CAD. I designed this rocket to be small and slippery. It has a very small frontal diameter, meaning it will push through less air, have less drag, and be faster than many of my previous designs. This program I'm using here is called OpenRocket, and I used it to figure out the speed and altitude of different designs by assembling virtual body tubes, nose cones, and other parts that all have drag coefficients and mass. It's super helpful to see how stable your rocket will be and how it will perform using various motors. I'll be using the mid-power rocket motor again for this build. It's essentially the same as what propels a firework, but it's much more powerful and it doesn't explode at the end of its flight, in theory. This particular rocket motor provides 12.1 kilograms of max thrust and is one of the biggest that I can buy from a hobby shop online without being certified and doing a qualification. With this, my rocket should accelerate to a respectable 730 kilometers an hour and top out at just over 840 meters. As usual, I designed parts like the nose on Fusion 360, which has a free license for hobbyists, before printing them out on my 3D printers. Fins were cut from thin sheets of plywood on a laser cutter. I know not everyone has access to one of these fancy things, but it wouldn't take too much longer to cut these parts by hand. The fins are simply pushed into slots on the fuselage PVC tube, which is just a bit of old plumbing that I found lying around, and then yeah, everything was epoxied together. As you can see, I added wings to this rocket as an experiment. These won't do much apart from raise the centre of pressure a little. They're just there to see whether I could possibly build a super strong rocket plane with these construction techniques and materials in the future. Finally, I gave the whole thing a splash of orange because I really like orange, and then took a good look at the awesome looking thing that I'd just created. This launch rail system is new, by the way. I've been using these aluminium extrusions for about a year, but this base allows me to quickly adjust for sloping hillsides and things like that to get the right launch angle. This base is actually just my tripod, which is probably going to come back a bit crispier after this mission. And on this base, there are some new electronics for launching the rocket remotely. In the past, I've simply run a cable from the rocket to a launch controller and battery, but recently this has been feeling a little too short, this cable, because the rockets have been getting much bigger and much more powerful. So to move further away, much further away, I've combined my RC controller with the launch controller by making this little remotely controlled box here. And this box just has an RC receiver in it which talks to this, so that means that once we've powered the system on with a LiPo battery, we've armed it like this, tested it with a little LED on the end of here, then detach this from the LEDs, attach it to the igniter, then you run away, then you arm the transmitter, and then you flick this switch which fires the rocket. To finish off the build, I installed a parachute recovery system which would deploy at apogee, applied some stickers including a list of my Patreon supporters' names, and then gave the rocket a name. This channel is all about me building these highly experimental vehicles to test out new ideas and concepts. And to help you keep track of these vehicles, I'll be from now on numbering each one of them with the prefix X, meaning experimental. I'm basically creating my own X-plane program here, but with boats and cars and other things. And yeah, I just thought it would be a cool thing to create a system of categorization which will help you and me to keep track of stuff. This rocket is appropriately, seeing as though it's orange, called the X1. And yeah, we'll see how it goes from here. Maybe I won't continue with this, but maybe I will. Let me know if you like the idea in the comments. Well, it was time to get everything set up for the big launch. The rocket was slid onto the pad and the engine primed. Checking items off a list helps me to stay organised and, importantly, nice and safe. A briefing was then given to my friends who'd come to watch, just to prepare them in case something went wrong. I've actually angled it towards us slightly because the wind is coming from this way.
What does everyone think of the James's rocket?
I'm quite nervous after what James told us.
450 miles an hour.
Parachute might not open.
James, you've filled them with confidence.
Well, they just need to be ready for whatever happens, really.
As I walked back to the pad for final checks, I thought over the different failure scenarios. The engine could fail, the airframe could disintegrate, the parachute might rip off at almost a kilometre up, or if I'd done everything right, we could have a spectacular first flight. Well, it was time for the countdown.
Okay, everyone, get ready. We're going to go for launch in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition.
What the hell is that?
I can't even see that anymore. Keep an eye out for it. I can't see it at all, but it should be about here.
Can you see it? No, can't see it.
Hopefully we'll see a parachute. No visual contact yet. Just keep looking for a parachute.
Yeah. I guess it did go very high. It looked like it was going, yeah.
Scanning the sky for about a minute after seeing no parachute, it could be assumed that the vehicle must have crashed just out of sight.
Well, I think that was that.
10 seconds. Oh my God. There was about 10 seconds when we were like, I was like, this could just come shooting down the sky.
You'd see a dot and that would be the last you know.
As well, like you can't dodge it because it could go.
Yeah.
I was really like, standing side to side, like ready to.
Essentially what's happened is it's gone and we lost visual contact with it before it hit apogee, which means that we have no idea where it's gone. We didn't see a chute and yeah, it looks like it might have gone into one of the next fields over that way. Successful launch, not so successful recovery. We're still looking out for a parachute. We're holding out hope.
Of course, the rocket was launched at a suitable model flying site, with many square kilometres of open fields around it, for this eventuality. Now there was just a small problem of finding it in such a vast area.
Yeah, we're trying to search it with the drone, but to no avail at the moment.
So we set off on foot, splitting up to look for clues, scanning field after field after field. Knowing the probable trajectory of the flight from simulations, an area about 500 metres north was thought to be the likely crash site, but there was no sign of the rocket whatsoever. With the light fading, I had to accept the rocket was lost for now, and sadly might never be seen again.
I don't believe it. This is George, who came with us on the launch. George has found the rocket. How's it? He must have gone on his own like little mission to try and find it after I'd given up. And look at his smug face. I can't believe that. That's absolutely ridiculous. How on earth did he find it? Let me ring Charlotte. Hang on. Hello.
She went out last night looking for it. Managed to like do some maths to work out where it would be.
Oh my. So he did the maths and he just found it in a field or something?
Yeah, he took some videos of himself while he was going.
Oh, nice.
Okay, so it's the day after the big launch, and I was passing by the area. I'm not holding up much hope. And I don't think what I'm saying now will ever get seen.
George had decided to search an area downwind, south of the launch site, assuming the parachute had successfully deployed. He actually read 2 academic papers on wind speed behaviour at different altitudes to calculate where the rocket might have landed.
Just for reference, so the launch site's about 500 metres in that direction, at the top of this ridge here. We only saw the rocket for about 1.5 seconds before it went too high to see. And at that point it was veering sort of north, so upwind, so in that direction, and that's the direction which we scanned yesterday. So I'm currently doing the southern section, and yes, that's where I'm at the moment for reference. I'm just walking past this field here, just over this ridge. There's a little orange dot over there. If you're wondering why I'm so out of breath in all these videos, it's because I keep having to clamber over these bad boys. Not sure it might be. I'm not sure if it was a bucket or... Surely not. Surely it couldn't be what I think it is. You are joking. No way. Oh my goodness. Rescue mission is a success, guys. James is going to be delighted. I'm absolutely gassed.
Well, thanks to George, the X1 is back. We found out that the parachute works, and this was a hugely successful mission. The X1 is now officially the fastest thing I've ever made, as it travelled at over 450 miles an hour, and was still accelerating as it travelled out of sight, thanks to its long burn motor, which burnt for about 3 seconds. I think everyone who was there will agree that the sheer velocity of this thing was extremely impressive to witness. There was one huge fail, however. You might have noticed that there was no onboard footage shown earlier in the video, even though I've got this rocket back now, and that has something to do with the fact that I might have forgotten to put the SD card in this camera. Ah, yeah. What a fail, what a fail. The good news, however, is that this rocket, the X1, is still in one piece and could be flown again. So I'm going to say that if this video gets 15,000 likes in the time between this video coming out and my next video coming out, then I will fly the X1 again and try to get some great onboard footage for you to see. Again though, this mission was extremely successful and I'm really pleased with how it turned out. The original way that I was going to end this video was in the pub with the friends who attended the launch, just with us drowning our sorrows, assuming that the rocket was in the ground somewhere and that the parachute had not worked. I'm very happy to have it back, so a big thank you again to George. Thank you again, man. Thank you as always to my patrons, of course, for helping me to make all of these projects on this channel. I will see you on the next project. See you then.